How's it going, guys? Cody, guys, back again, dropping yet another video. Right, as you can see from the title of the video, guys, right, this video is going to be on paedophiles and sex offenders being chemically castrated, right? Now, obviously, I've been in prison. I'm not a sex offender or anything, so I've never been on the sex offenders wing. However, when I was at Forest Bank Prison, right, I was a cleaner, right, on my last stretch, yeah. There's so many sex offenders in the system, right, that at Forest Bank, they spill over, right? They're housed on H2, right, the wing. But there's that many sex offenders, right, that they overspill into general population on the induction wing. And they was housed as what we call DNUs, do not unlock, right? We knew as cleaners that there was fucking nonces, bacons, kiddie fiddlers, rapists and everything else. And we was in a position of trust. We abused that trust, guys. We corrupted their food. We paid other inmates to target them. We told other inmates what it was in for. One of them threw himself off the landing whilst everyone was unlocked. He got unlocked, and because he'd been getting hounded behind his door, he threw himself off the landing. Unfortunately, he survived. Some people might have a go at me, criticise me for that statement, but as someone that's been sexually abused, guys, when I was a kid, by someone that lived local to my mum and my dad, I deplore these people. And in my opinion, sex offenders, my opinion on the whole situation is simply this. If you go to prison attracted to men, you leave attracted to men. That goes to female prisoners and obviously gay inmates, right? If you go to prison attracted to females, you come out attracted to females. That brings me on to sex offenders like kiddie fiddlers. If you go to prison sexually attracted to children, you leave sexually attracted to children. No amount of courses or psychology therapy and psychological therapies and stuff are going to stop you, right? I think people are very thick and stupid to think that something that's chemically in the brain, to me, paedophilia and rapists and everything, it's a disease, guys, right? And do you know what I mean? Especially kiddie fiddlers, guys. You see now, if you see these Dark Justice, you see Shane Brannigan, the paedophile hunters and stuff like that, they're doing a fantastic job. Fewer police on the streets. These guys are setting traps, entrapping these people, and they're getting sent down and stuff, right? Not for as long as they should, in my opinion. But that brings me on to headlines that I've been reading in the papers. So I've wrote down some of the things, and I'm going to read them to you guys now, right? And see what you guys think. I'm interested to gauge your reactions, your thoughts, your feelings. A lot of people have been contacting me stating they've been sexually abused. They've grown up in care where they was abused and things like that, whether it be psychologically, physically, sexually. Right, and the thing is as well, right, like I say, for those that have been through the torment of being molested, sexually assaulted, rape and stuff, it's an absolutely, it lives with you forever. It drives people to drink, to take drugs, it looms large in the head, and it's a lifetime of suffering for the victim. So this brings me on to this, guys, right? So the Ministry of Justice are reportedly looking at ways to dramatically increase the use of chemical castration on sex offenders and paedophiles. Now, from what I've read, I don't, headlines that I read, I take with a pinch of salt. This seems to be factual. But apparently it's been trialled in 6 prisons, right, at the moment, and people are volunteering, right? Now, Justice Minister Philip Blee, who is also a general practitioner doctor, is said to be interested in the idea as a means of safely releasing certain offenders from prison back into society. Now, in my opinion, certain offenders doesn't cut the mustard. All sex offenders, all paedophiles, rapists, nonces, all should be chemically castrated for life, in my opinion. Or let's go a step further, right, and just castrate them full stop. You can't fucking wank what's not there, can you, right? A lot of these sick individuals that prey on children, some of them go after old women, some have to go after kids, right? And like I say, it's a lifetime of misery and suffering for the person that's been violated by these people. And they get a sick sexual gratification from it, guys, right? So I believe not certain offenders, I believe anyone that's convicted of a sex crime, right, should be chemically castrated for life, because in my opinion they'll always pose a risk. Now obviously there will be those that might rehabilitate, but for the most part you see it, that the fact that they go through the cycle. Whilst I was in prison, there was a sex offender who, again, because the H2 was full, he got out. He was out for, I think, 6 weeks, and then he was recalled because he had what was it, sexual things of children again, images and stuff. So what does that show you, in my opinion? And we just corrupted this food. He got shit parceled, he got swilled, he got potted. We corrupted his food proper bad. Now, like I say, we didn't want to lose our jobs as cleaners and stuff, but did we target these individuals? Yes, absolutely. Some of them were unashamed in their acts as well. I remember being on the ones, and these 2 black lads came back, right, and we thought they'd been moved down to Maine. They'd been to court, right, and they came back, and we said, "Oh, you're on trial." And he said, yeah. We said, "What you in for?" And we said, "Rape." They said, "Rape," both of them. Me and another cleaner, we walked straight into the server there and shut the door. I wanted to smash the reds in, right? And then one of the other lads come flying in, kicked the door off, and started shouting through the door, "You fucking sick, you lot." Now, one of the lads said, "What happened? Did you..." Oh, he said, "Oh, we're both up on rape on the same 13-year-old girl." Right? They obviously thought we was nonces, we was bacons, right? We wasn't at all. Right? We was just general population on the induction wing. We was cleaners and stuff. We had to serve these people food, right? And one of the lads said, "What happened? Did you tag team her?" And the lads were like, yeah, we did, yeah. And he was laughing about it, right? And all I'll say to you is that we paid one of the lads on a wing that had just come in that was a bit of a loose cannon. We paid him. We were giving him spice and stuff to target this individual because, again, sex offenders and stuff like that, people with they got hounded. And the thing is, the glass, because it used to be the medical wing, right? The hatches actually open, right? The glass can open. So they used to throw all sorts at them, man. We used to corrupt the food, dirty, sadistic, horrible bastards that were bragging. They thought we was like them. Not at all. We despise people like that. Right, so it says here, Dr. Lee's keen to find an evidence-based approach to returning prisoners to normal life. And he's aware that international studies have shown chemical castration is effective, right? Now, the thing is, whilst they're in prison and stuff, what it's aimed at here, what they're talking about, is giving it to prisoners that are coming up for parole. Now, not every prisoner goes up on parole, right? If you're serving, I think it's under 10 years, you don't go for parole, you just get released. You serve half your sentence and you then get released, right? I don't care if you're in for weeks, months, years. Everyone that's convicted of a sex crime should be chemically castrated for life. Go to probation, in front of a doctor, take the medication, prove that it's in your system. And if they abscond and they get caught, you fucking life them off. Right? So it says here, a source within the Ministry of Justice told the Daily Express, Dr. Lee knows this is a controversial, but the medication is voluntary even, although it can be linked to an increased chance of getting parole, as I've alluded to, right? Now, to me, right, sex offenders and stuff like that, they don't get HDC, which is TAG and things like that. They're not eligible. And like I say, if you're serving a few years, right, you don't come up, you won't go for parole. So there's no incentive for those. So you need to chemically castrate everyone that ends up, whether it's a suspended sentence or a convicted and goes to prison for weeks, months, years, they should all be chemically castrated. That's my opinion, and I stick to it. There is a debate over the effectiveness of the courses, but very doubt that the chemical castration work. Now, what they're alluding to there, the courses, these sex offenders and stuff, right? If they don't, they get if they don't go to prison and they get suspended sentences, they can get like sexual harm prevention orders and stuff like that. But in my opinion, guys, right? Call me a cynic, but I don't believe any psychological course can cure a sex offender of being sexually attracted to children, producing images, acting on their impulses. They get sexual gratification from it, right? If you can turn that off in the brain, right, then for me, I'm all for it. It says here, but then it says, but there's little doubt that chemical castration works. Chemical castration works in other countries. I want to go into that shortly. Essentially, libido-suppressing medications in tandem with psychological therapies are more effective than what is generally being attempted currently. Now, normally I'm going against the grain and I'm fighting for prisoners' rights, right? with sex offenders, guys, I don't think they should be given any rights. In my opinion, the protection that they receive in prison on the numbers, they shouldn't be on protection. All sex offenders should be put in general population. We should get away from own protection and fucking VPs. For those that don't know, sex offenders in prison, or anyone that goes on to the numbers because they're in fear of reprisals, child murderers, sex offenders, rapists, kiddie fiddlers, blah blah blah. Right? They go on they become what they call VP, vulnerable prisoner. They're vulnerable in the sense that they would be attacked if they was put into general population. If you commit the crime, you shouldn't then be housed on your own wing full of other people of the same nature as you. Right? You should be thrown into general population, and if you die, you die. Says here, right, so the source added that the treatment is especially important for paedophiles because paedophilia is like a disease and destroys lives. Now, it destroys the victims' lives, the victims' family lives and stuff like that. And I do believe it is a disease. I do believe it is a mental health condition, right? Like I say, sexually attracted to children, right? It's fucking wrong. Whether they're seen if these paedophiles, right, and these rapists, right, say they've not acted on their impulses. Let's say that they're downloading indecent images of children, sexual abuse images of children, right? You are fueling a supply and for the demand, right? You are fueling that, which then makes these people, these people that are carrying out these acts and putting it on the dark web and stuff, right? It's making these people go out, and because there is a market for it, because you were building a supply and demand by downloading these images and watching the films and stuff, right? And like I say, anyone that's caught, in my opinion, should be castrated, chemically castrated. You can't wank what's not there. I stick to that. I'm sorry, guys, to put it in such lame terms, but I stick to that. But there are a few fears that these prisoners should be denied parole. No, it says here, but there are fears that should these prisoners be denied parole, that there will not be enough space in jails to hold them. As I've alluded to, guys, right, the amount of sex offenders going through the system, there are more sex offenders than there are spaces, because like Lyle prison, right, that I think that's 50-50. Wymont and Garth prison, I think Wymont up near Garth prison, I think that's 50-50. What I mean by 50-50, I believe it's 50% sex offenders, 50% general population, and they're housed separately. Right, and same with Lyle. I believe Lyle, I think it's mainly sex offenders in that prison. But the point is, there are more sex offenders than there are spaces for them. Chemical castration, therefore, is being considered as a way to safely release the offenders while decreasing the chance of them reoffending. Right? I'm all for this. Remember, you've got to remember, guys, I fight for prisoners' rights and human rights and stuff, and I speak out on the same things. States here, guys, about 120 sex offenders have volunteered for the treatment, but that number is believed to 10 times smaller than it could be. So 120 are currently trialling this drug for the treatment, but the number is believed to be 10 times smaller than it could be. So they believe it's going to be 10 times higher. Right. There are thought to be 70,000 registered sex offenders in the UK. Now, the key word there, guys, is registered, right? To be registered as a sex offender, you've got to be caught, arrested, and then convicted, right? Registered sex offenders. So 70,000, take that with a pinch of salt, because then you've got the ones that haven't been caught yet. You've got to remember, guys, right? Police forces and stuff like that, their budgets and stuff are coming down. Here in Manchester, the Serious Sexual Offences Unit, they've been disbanded. It's the way of the world, guys, unfortunately. So 70,000 registered sex offenders in the UK. Then you've got the ones that haven't been caught. Sweden, Denmark, the US, Australia, Canada, Poland and South Korea are some of the countries around the world to practice chemical castration of sex offenders. Now, normally I would go against the grain with this following statement, but I agree 100%. Policy needs to be less about human rights of prisoners. Obviously, prisoners are treated shockingly in prison, but it should be and more about public safety. Now, when it comes to sex offenders, that statement I agree with wholeheartedly. Policy needs to be less about human rights of prisoners and more about public safety, because the reality is, guys, right, sex offenders, they are predators, they go on to reoffend. And like I've alluded to, it's more complicated than how I put it, but I simply put it like, if you're attracted to women when you go to prison, you're attracted to women when you leave prison. You go to prison attracted to children, you leave sexually attracted to children. It's as simple as that, in my opinion. And like I say, no amount of psychology courses or psychological therapies are going to stop sex offenders from being attracted to children. I think that's a very, very short and silly opinion. Chemical castration, it works. Like I say, the side effects and stuff like that. But what you've got to ask yourself, guys, these 120 prisoners, these sex offenders that are currently willing to take the drug, I ask you this: are they taking the drug because they want to rehabilitate, or are they taking the drug because they'll get out of prison quicker if they if they sign up to the program? Right? Let me know what you think, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Sorry, my phone just dropped. Speak to you soon. Bye.